Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. We're in room 27 of Wareham Town Hall, and I would like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. And I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll, but I was meant to actually hand you a list of the names.
Well, there's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here.
And one up there.
And one up there, 7.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, so we are all here. We are 100% in attendance, which means we have a quorum. And we will move on to Finance Committee matters. And the first item on the agenda is I requested that our most recently outgoing 3 members come tonight. They all said they could, but as maybe no one is surprised, Dom is not here yet. If I thought about this, I wouldn't have put this as the very first thing on the agenda because he'll probably be here in 5 minutes. But we do have Matt Rose and Julie Moran, who are back with us for their words of appreciation that we really didn't get to properly do because our last meeting with them was a full Zoom meeting. And we have cannoli and seltzer as for a little party. Sorry, Brianna, that you didn't get to participate in that part of it. Brianna had to be with us by Zoom tonight. But I just wanted to take a minute to personally express my appreciation, and anyone else who wants to, please do weigh in. And I wanted to say a little something about each of you, but we'll do them one at a time. And let's just start with Matt because he's on the left and we're reading left to right. And I wanted just to start by saying what a joy it has been to work with you, Matt. And I was thinking today about the things that I appreciate most about the time that we served together. And we started pretty close to the same time. Our terms, I think, ran pretty parallel for a while there. And what I know about you is that you have, there he is. Come on in, Dom. You have always, you always seem to know what's going on. And you always knew how to find information that I've sometimes found very difficult to find. And your comments and thoughts were always quite on point. And I appreciate your demeanor and your reasonableness and your thoughtfulness in everything that we did together. Would anybody else like to say anything about Matt?
Well, I want to say something about all 3 of them at once, if you don't mind.
Okay, because, we can wait on that.
You know, because all 3 of them, I mean, I really appreciated this committee in the sense that we all worked together well. We all respected each other's opinions, and certainly you guys were all part of that. Even though Dominic sometimes upset me and that he wasn't my friend anymore, but that's okay. But that's so important for a successful government that, you know, debate's good, different opinions are good, and you guys brought in a civil way, and all 3 of you guys brought that to the table, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for your time.
I would just say, Matt, with all your youth, I just don't understand why you gave up such a good paying job. I wish you well.
You get paid?
Yeah.
I have to abstain because I have no history.
Well, you did have history as the select board liaison, but
as I said, I
fair
have no
enough.
history.
You have no history. Would anybody else like to?
I just wish I had more time on the board with all 3 of you. I learned little bits and pieces from each and every one of you that I really appreciate, but I wish we had more time together as a board.
Well, I will move on to Julie. Julie, it has been so much fun getting to know you. And maybe because we're both lawyers, because we come from somewhat similar experience, views, that sort of thing. I always found that it was really easy to relate to you. You are another person who always was prepared, had something good to say, something good to share. We didn't even always agree. As much as we are alike in a lot of our views, we didn't always agree. But I always felt like there was really great mutual respect. And our loss is the planning board's gain. And I think they know that. Anyone else Say something in particular about Julie?
No, I asked her to move over to the planning, so it's my fault.
Julie, FinCom clerk, planning clerk.
I know. What can
How'd
you
that
say?
happen, huh? You thought it would be a.
Right. And last but not least, Dom. I will also say that probably of everyone in this room, you and I disagreed the most.
In a fun way.
But that's my point. I never felt like it got personal. I never felt like you were dismissive of me. I think we always tried to find a way to, in the end, resolve whatever differences we had, even if ultimately the resolution was, we see it differently. And I appreciate that about you as well.
I appreciate all the work you've done here. You've done a tremendous job.
Thank you. And I just realized we didn't really ask Brianna if she wanted to say anything about anybody.
I just want to say good luck to the three of you, and I agree. I wish I was able to, spend some more time because I definitely think I'd be able to learn a lot from the three of you. So wish that it wasn't cut so short, but good luck on any future endeavors.
Well, I think all of our paths will continue to cross.
Dom, you gotta do one thing tonight. Gotta designate somebody to do your pissing and moaning about the EDUs in the sewer department.
I'm gonna give that job to Alan.
He will gladly take it.
Someday we'll get it straightened out.
Yeah. Right.
Someday. Jerry, it's been fun.
Yeah,
We had a good time.
we did.
I thought about making up certificates for everybody, but nobody really wants certificates. But I thought you might like cannoli. And please, Dom, help yourself to cannoli as well.
Jody, you gotta remember, you gotta be the one to buck the system, okay? Someone has to have that job.
Don't worry. about
Everyone
it.
can't all say yes.
I'll never be accused of that.
That's all I wanted to hear.
You chose the right person, Don.
And I would like to give each of you a chance to say something if you would like.
I don't know what else to really say that I didn't say the last time, but it has been great working with all of you. I've actually learned probably more from you than you realize. We live in a great town, and to have such a diverse group of people that we're working with to keep the town as great as it is amazing. You don't have to agree with everybody every time, but you do have to find the middle ground for the benefit of everyone.
Great. Thank you.
Similarly, had never sat on a finance committee or really spent a lot of time deep diving into financial statements, but I want to thank all of you that helped me go through the process and learn a little. I hope I learned a little. But what everyone has said, that I felt that everyone came together, respected each other, listened, learned, and I think that I'm new to Wareham, not even 3 years at this point. I guess that's not real new, but I'm just impressed with how many people, volunteers in our town government, are just amazing people, and how dedicated they are to making sure that we continue to grow and succeed. So it's impressive. It's been a very impressive experience for me.
Anything to add, Dom?
I think the last group that I was with, Nova Headed and you guys, was probably more comfortable to be with than my years past. I didn't disagree as much as years past, but I enjoy being on the finance committee because I believe it's the pulse of the town. And you kind of see what's going on, and I'm invested a lot in the town, so I enjoyed that. And great group of people. And in 1 year, you'll have me back if you want me back. I've done it long enough, so I'll take my year off and enjoy it. And you guys do a great job, and thanks, everybody. I
And you're
appreciate
not
everyone.
actually taking time off because you're also on the board of the TAC.
Yeah, I'd like to stay busy. I like to get back to the town.
All right, well, thank you. You all are welcome to stay for this entire meeting if you would like, but no one is going to hold it against you if you have other things to do.
I have to get back to my rules and regulations for the planning board.
I guess we're
I
gonna
never
But
turned
thank
down
you.
a free meal
No,
in my
please.
life.
Go for the cannoli. The cannoli, by the way, is from Forno Bakery in Wareham. It's
Nice.
our local bakery and
Yeah, right up here, right?
right up Main Street, or,
I've never had
Mary
anything
Road.
there, so
It's she's great.
I'm gonna steal 2 in a soda.
All right, go for it.
Thank you very much.
All right, and the next thing is, we do have.
All.
a-
See
Good
ya.
luck.
Bye.
It's been wonderful.
Same here.
Bye, honey.
Okay, bye, dear.
We do have a new member
It's all right.
of Finance Committee as of a couple of weeks ago. Andrea Picarelli has joined us. We are down to 7 members now by the charter change, so we have a full slate, that's the first time that's happened in a while. But welcome, Andrea. You have spoken to us before, so I think everyone knows who you are, but glad to have you. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the approval of the August 14th, 2024 minutes, and I actually had one change. I looked at the part about Jody's comments about being here for the CPC articles, and I thought it was not quite accurate, so I would just change that sentence to say, Mr. Smith noted he will not be available on September 25th when the CPC article, so change that instead of when the CPC articles will be discussed, just to recognize that he asked to be present for that discussion when it happens. So,
Motion to approve as amended.
okay, second,
Second?
all right. We'll take a roll call vote. Brianna,
Yep.
okay. Jody,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
yes, Heidi, and myself, yes. So it passes 7-0-0. All right. Next item is liaison reports, and in particular, Jody had asked to bring up a question or an issue to discuss about the school committee, which he is the liaison for. Would you like to
Certainly.
say what you have in mind?
I'm the liaison to the schools, and I do watch all the school committee meetings, especially the financial part of them. And I watch the whole thing, until it adjourns. I'm getting very frustrated because just the past 2 meetings, they brought up issues. And I go on the school website and go to their packet, the only thing I can get out of it is the agenda.
Sorry. Good night,
I'm
everybody.
talking
Hi, Dominic.
transfers, other things, they may be, they just did their end of the year report and things like that. I mean, I would like to see those, and I think, if we go at them electronically, we could pass them on and you could take a look at them. I think that's not an unreasonable request. The superintendent had his goals out, and a couple of those goals would cost money. So again, I go in, I wanna go into the packet and have a copy of what those are and go from there. So what I'm asking is, and the final thing is the bill warrant. I know there's a copy in town hall, anybody can come in and look at it. I understand that. But I would like a copy of that. I mean, I did work for a town and have to turn a bill warrant in, and I always had to make 3 copies of it. So there's always 2 copies in town hall and 1 copy in my office. I would like the finance committee to be provided a copy and see where, the money's being spent. I know the payroll, I'm more concerned about the bills and things like that. I don't know what money's being spent on, and I was kind of chuckling to myself. Everybody saw what's going on at Brockton, the $18 million shortage, and a lot went on there. And I'm not accusing of Wareham or anything. Don't anybody take it the wrong way. I'm not thinking anything's going on, but I think if we want to make a well-educated decision on the budget, I mean, I think the town administrator gives us a great financial report and all that, and it's shared with anybody that wants to see it. And I think we make recommendations at town meeting, and we want to make a well-educated, informed recommendation. That's what we owe to the town. So I didn't want to go, I've asked for transfers before from them, And I brought a whole list in because there weren't any on their website. I brought in probably 12 of them I asked for, and they weren't too happy with me. So I'd like to see when they do their meetings, they meet twice a month, if there's any financial things in there to provide all these things. And I put the chairman, I mean, the chairman is the obvious person to forward them, you know, I mean.
So just to clarify.
Yep.
You're talking about a couple of different things. One is materials that get referred to during the meetings that aren't readily available if you're not at the meeting. Is that correct?
Correct,
If you're not there
they should
physically.
be.
So you're asking, presumably, if you were at the meeting, you would get it there, right? If you were there physically? You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, but in any event, you're talking about materials that are referred to during the meeting that you
Yep.
think we
Transfers,
should have access to.
you know, anything that has a financial
Financial,
implication
not
to
every
the town.
single item, okay.
You know, I
it-
mean, I don't care what they do for their school policies. I mean,
Yeah.
I care, but not to the
But
point
it's
where
not
we need to
necessarily
see
our job.
financial things.
So, and the other thing is the bill warrants.
Yep.
Right, okay. Does anybody have any thoughts to share on any of that?
If you
Yes,
want me to speak or not.
Noticed
Yes.
today.
I'm sorry,
I
sorry, just 1 minute, Brianna.
I've had some thoughts about this for a while. The way DESI works and stuff, the school is allowed to submit a single number to the town administrator for their budget.
Correct.
Okay. I felt as though that because of the payroll transfers constant and a bunch of things going on, plus the fact the selectmen are supposed to review every item on the warrant before it's paid. It's the last check and balance, which unfortunately doesn't happen that often. There's problems. And the bottom line is I talked about actually going in either a bylaw or charter or whatever we do and actually change where it says the school will submit a single number, but basically to submit an actual detailed budget. So the accounting department can also see where money is going, et cetera. So it'll show us where grants might be moved to, where transfers are, et cetera. And I think this is something that we could easily do. Because we are, under Mass General Law, have the right to go to any department at any time and ask for financial information. Has to be financial, it can't be personal, agenda, or anything else.
Right.
But it has to be financial. And I think this is an easy opportunity to do that. If the town has to sit there and list virtually every item, I hate to pick on the school, but we get one number. And that's it, and we have no control where that money goes, and they transfer money back and forth, whatever else. And I think we need to know what's going on.
So this
I
would be,
mean, I heard something the other night that just kind of bothered me a tad. They call it, something they were spending money on out of the discretionary account. That's like having, you know, some free cash sitting around, and I said, no, with discretionary account. You know, I mean, I had petty cash where I was before, but I had to have an act of Congress just about to get that. You
all
know,
right,
so.
let's let Brianna speak.
I just had noticed today when I was looking for minutes from the school committee meeting, and it was a lot harder to navigate this year. I don't know if they changed something on the website. It's very challenging to find, and I was not too happy to find that it was that difficult for myself to find the packet in the agenda. I couldn't really find specifically if the packet was the minutes, or where the minutes go. So that was definitely something I noticed today that was a little upsetting.
They have changed their website, and there was a button on there for the packet, and all that would come up was the agenda.
Okay. It's possible that this is partly a technical issue, maybe even a lot of it is a technical issue that we need to make sure they know about. But other thoughts? Anyone else want to weigh in on this? Derek, do you have any thoughts at all on this?
He wasn't listening.
It's not what you were here for. I just wanted to give you a chance to speak if you had thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, there are a couple of,
Norma, one thing.
yes.
I was under the impression that at some point during the month, the school committee got a detailed expenses for the month, a budget, you know, like to date and all of that. I think that's what we're
I
asking.
think that's
they
what
do.
we're talking about.
They
yeah.
do.
what we're
That's something they
So they do that.
Right.
We
No, I
just
don't-
have to get a copy.
I don't think we're asking them to generate anything that doesn't already exist. But we are entitled, as Alan pointed out, we are entitled to look at the books of any department in the town.
So
There are a
they-
couple of different ways we can go about this, it seems to me. One is we could get very formal about it and make a demand. The other is that I could have a conversation with Kristen and Matt, and just point out this problem and ask them, can they
Can't
give this
they
to us
shoot-
on a
shoot
regular
you-
basis?
shoot you a bu-
Once a month, send us, whatever is up to date.
And then you can present it to us.
And then I
yeah.
pass it on to you all. Any thoughts on any of that?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I just what I'm reading into, I think that the town administrator and the superintendent have a pretty good rapport.
Yes, I think so.
This is just my opinion, so I think talking to them, I just don't wanna be the one to walk in there. I'm representing the finance committee and I don't wanna go in just thinking it's just for me. I wanted, I told you, no, I wanna see how the finance committee feels. That's why I put it on here and see how, if you all said bad idea, then that would have been that, but I just think we should see some of these things.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a perfectly legitimate use of what we are supposed to be doing. It's just a matter of the logistics of how we should go about doing it.
The easiest way that you guys can come up, sitting down with them, I'm all for that.
Why don't we start with me just asking for that information?
I don't have a problem with that.
All right? Is that good with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay with me coming up here?
Oh, please, yes.
But there's a couple, just in case, because I'm assuming people do watch or listen. There are, at different times, you do get the full budget breakdown from the school.
That's
We
right.
have you have the all-day meeting with them. There are different ones. Yes, and the town's budgets are almost the same way. They're voted at town meetings, so I want people to understand that as well. We do the salary and expenses. You don't vote a whole breakdown line. I think you're just asking for a little clarification, what happens in between. For example, for the town's budgets, we can't transfer from one department or another. We need either town meeting or the end of the year an act for the finance committee and the select board to vote upon that. So that's usually that happens in a manner. It is, the school committee does vote on those transfers, but the finance committee is not involved on those transfers. I think that's what you're sort of asking for,
Yeah,
so.
and I used to get some of those and I kind of was trying to track where
Yeah.
money was coming out of.
Yeah, and I just don't want people to think that nobody ever sees a breakdown of
No,
the whole budgets or.
no, and
You
everyone,
do. It's
everyone who's been on this committee for any time at all and has been through the budget workshop and through the school budget workshop especially, does see quite a lot of information.
yeah, so it is an overwhelming amount of information. But you're right, what's voted at town meeting, and all our budgets essentially are bottom line budgets at the end of the day, so you can, if, let's say you had a copier one, you had $200 left in that within your department, you can expend those funds if you had something else that needed to be expended, so. That's just sort of the 101
Yeah.
primer.
And I just saw this past meeting that they turned quite a bit of money back to the town. And I said, ooh, that's a pleasant surprise. So I was just kind of curious, how did they come up with a extra $100,000, I mean, which is a good thing. That's what I mean, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, I would just like to see, that's all, nothing more, nothing less.
All right, well, I don't have a problem with making that request, and as I think you all know, and I'll say it especially for the audience, if anyone's watching, my view is we are not enemies, we're all part of the same community, and it's really important that we work together in a collaborative way. And sometimes our interests are at odds, just like sometimes when we're talking about a particular issue, we see things differently. But I do think we owe each other a lot of respect and consideration in how we go about doing some of this. So I would like to do it informally and see how that works out.
That's right.
My only comment is that the school department is part of the town.
Yep.
My experience out of the town, other, boards, committees, whatever, the most common problem is the school department everywhere. It's not just Wareham. It's a common thing. They probably represent over 70% of our budget.
They do.
It's a huge amount of money. Unfortunately, our rating for our school system is not that great. So people always question, what are we spending our money on? So this is one reason why we really need to just say, understand what's going on, how the money's being spent, et cetera. We're not picking on them per se, because all 351 communities in Massachusetts pick on the school committees. So it's just what it is. But I think it's important that we understand what it is, because at town meeting, we get a single number and we have no idea. The average citizen has no idea where that money's going.
And when, to Alan's point, what I'm saying here has been said from the prior finance committee I sat on in another town. So it's very common. This isn't an unusual
It's not.
to Wareham by any means.
No, of course not. Okay, so does anybody else have a liaison report right now?
I think capital planning met, I believe Mrs. Slavin forwarded everybody the latest copy up to date. She said she sent it to everybody. I've got a copy. I'll make sure everybody gets a copy again. We have what we call, not a wish list, but things that we know we're gonna get hit with somewhere. Might be more than 5 years, might be less. The numbers are, not basically financeable right now. Capital Planning Committee is gonna start to sit and do the second half of what their job is. One is to put the 5-year plan in place, but also to work with the town to come up with some kind of game plan of how we actually pay for things, which is the second half of capital planning, which we've never really done before. So that's gonna happen next.
Any other liaison reports? We do have a new member who doesn't have any liaison assignments. We have not assigned anyone to Upper Cape Tech. Would that be a good fit for you?
Sure, I mean, I'm very familiar with it.
I thought so. We do try to find some synergy when we make these assignments. So since you already know a lot about it, I think that would
You
be
have a
great.
big pair of shoes to fill. Dominic was our liaison before, so you got a tough act to follow.
I have a very good relationship with the superintendent and
Yeah,
the
they have
principal.
great meals there.
Yeah.
It's a great program. All right, thank you. Appreciate you doing that. All right, with that, let's move on to our special guest, Derek Sullivan, Town Administrator, who is here to talk about the fiscal year 24 end of year unaudited information.
Unaudited, unadjusted, whatever caveat
It's-
we can put on there.
Things will change a little, but
So-
hopefully it's pretty close.
We'll send these out to you electronically. I received them yesterday, so I was just going through them for a little bit. The first one we'll do is the expenses. I'll wait for that to get down. No real shocks on them. One of the philosophies, as we were saying beforehand, is, you'll see that budgets typically aren't spent to 100%. Some of them are. I've been in this position for over 12 years here, and for a long time, I'd say, you almost want to say before 2020, you had stability in positions, and we've had a lot of retirements, and
Send everybody a
now
copy.
you have a lot of people jumping around. It used to be you'd get into a municipality and you pretty much stayed in the same one for a long time. We've been lucky with our department heads, bringing them in. We have some retirements coming up in the future that I think are going to be, when we talk about tough acts to fill, I don't think you can really fill them. So those are some of the things we need to keep up. But the department heads are good. They know that if they are not fully expending their budget, whether there was a position that maybe wasn't filled, that's usually where you'll see it, or if there was some expenses where they saved money, they know that it's better to turn those funds back in than to buy widgets or tiddlywinks with them.
Cannoli.
Yeah, I might accept cannolis.
And that's a great point. In the old days, in town government,
Yeah.
department heads would go crazy towards the end of the budget year. That doesn't happen anymore. They know they're not gonna be punished the next year if they didn't spend all the money from the prior year. It's much better now.
You never want to open up a cabinet and see a lifetime supply of pencils, erasers, or pads or something, which is what you used to see. So.
You don't see those things anymore.
Yeah, so, and just going through, there's not much to highlight on the expenses. the finance committee has been particularly frugal. And I believe that's with the printing of the new printing format, so that's been, that's worked out well. And bringing those down to, you know, especially for the folks at town meeting, having it in a bite-sized format is really, I think that's effective. So when you're going through them, I think the ones that stood out, which I was not, which isn't good, is sort of difficult, is municipal maintenance. You'll see salary turned back on there. We were unable to fill some of those positions during the year, and we had turnover come in and out. CDLs, those types of positions, really difficult right now. So, and I'll tell you, we, in hiring, again, going back 12 years, we'd put out an ad, you'd have, honest to God, 30 or 40 real applicants. You'd interview, go through them, and the person that got the job was almost in tears. They were so ecstatic. Today, you call, verify they're coming for a 2 p.m. meeting, they say yes, they are, and they never bother showing up. So it's a different time, you know, so we've made some changes with some of with the WPCF contract. We've got a few other contracts coming up this year, and by a few, I believe it's about 9 of them. So this is going to be a bit of a nightmare bargaining year for the town.
Would you say our pay scale in Wareham is competitive with other towns?
We've gotten a lot closer on a lot of them. We used to be so far behind. That was reminding, it was reminding of the days, you know, again, I've sort of been doing on the look back. The days when I first started, the finance committee was talking about receivership, the state taking over, and that the town, then they would, you know, they said, well, one of the benefits is the state can change the union contracts. I said, we have the lowest union contracts in the area, so why would they change it? You know, so we've worked hard to try and bring them up to competitive, because our staff's the lifeblood of operations. You know, I don't think we'll be the leader on too much, but you know, we try and take care of it, and I'm sure this will be played as Exhibit A for any union negotiations. But you know, I think we've done a lot better bridging the gap. The only problem is it seems like every time you think you got there, somebody else gives something that changes the whole dynamics again. And one of the things that's happening, particularly department head wise, is there's so many areas where the specialties from finance planning, it's difficult. There's not many people in the pipeline. And some folks, again, it used to be you'd stay there for almost a lifetime, but some folks are just jumping, and each town is trying to steal from the other. And that's creating, it's an unmanageable situation. So we need to just, what we really need to work out is bringing in some new talent into the pipeline and if you're training in-house and moving that way, that's gonna be one of the best ways to fill these positions. Wareham's never been a town that's worked on, that's really done, if you will, just bringing people up, because you've never had the staffing to do that. You've never had the staffing to try and bring some people along. We've already seen some changes, for example, in planning, where the conservation agent is now a land use coordinator, talented person that's learning. Some of them is interested in progressing. We had somebody from inspectional services moving up from the clerical ranks to the to code enforcement, and same thing from the Board of Health, moving in from the clerical ranks to the assistant health director. And I think that's fantastic. And I will tell you, for almost a decade, you never saw the clerical ranks moving up. So we're bringing in some really, really talented people, and people that want to progress. So, but again, going through it's pretty much the format you'd see when we do the monthly revenue and expenditure reports. We had some small year-end transfers as we went through. These also contain some of the articles. You know, so a lot of these are, I will tell you, they almost seem like they get too tight for me when you're at 99%. So, you know, especially with some of them like the 98.8 for the police, because you can have a bad run of OT or an injury that can put you right over. So that always makes you a little nervous on there. So the big ones that you saw, money turned back, you know, and again, this is the school department is showing probably a lot more than what they said was turned back, but I think that needs to be the final adjustments on there from when grants and such are hit off. Snow and ice, people would say, well, it really didn't snow at all. We still have ice removal at night, still putting the trucks out, and we will fill up with the sand and salt mix to make sure you've got it in there. So when you have a rough year, you're not hurt. That's where we have the big salt shed up there that helps with that.
Derek, I see that if you look at the total general fund, percent expended, it was a little less than 86% of budget. That seems like a pretty big shortfall of what we had budgeted, and I understand you always budget very conservatively, but I just wonder, and I also understand that we end up with free cash as a result of that. But things like the lack of help in the planning office for a while, that sort of thing. Is there a way to kind of spend that money? Obviously not for last year, but going forward, when we see that we're having trouble filling a spot full time, is there something we can do to get the need met anyway?
We never stopped for that position trying to hire for it.
Just couldn't do it.
We have we had made 2 offers that never came through. One was immediately dismissed. The other, the person thought they'd be working with the planning and community development director and not replacing, and they were not interested. So some of these 2 you'll see, like the school choice sending or some of the other ones if you haven't. Those are the assessments that we have no control over, and the big ones is what's showing is the school, obviously, municipal maintenance, again, trying to fill some of those, really difficult. And then debt service was the one because we were preparing for the middle school roof, did not know when that's done. So that was one of the big ones, but we need that funding in place because if you have that funding in there today, and if you moved it into operations, you would not have it for the next year when that bill comes due, and you need to have it in there.
So this is municipal accounting.
Yeah, no, well, it's also, we don't have the availability to raise money. You really don't, outside of the 2.5 override. Our levy capacity is our excess levy capacity is really tight. Our ceiling, our override ceiling's massive. You could, before you'd reach that level, you could probably do a $40-50 million override before it actually touched that, but the town's never done one, so but that override's a 4-letter word, so you try not to use it too often.
Understood.
You can almost look at the savings or the budget as a capital expenditure funding, so you never
I
want to go
understand
to
that,
yeah, and I think if you're like 80-85%, then you got, you can do something with capital. That's about the only way unless you borrow.
And you'll usually, some of these, sometimes you almost restructure a department as it's changed. You try not to base it on the person, but when you've got low levels of staffing, sometimes you've got somebody that can do more, has other talents that they were doing when they leave. You have to figure out how to diversify that, if you will, so. But yeah, this is just going through it. EMS was a good year too. We had, it looks like we'll have a turn back from them. But the EMS budget being an offset receipt does not include health benefits, does not include the insurances that we pay on that behalf. That's about a 17-member unit. Not everybody obviously has health insurance that they take from the town, but that can be a serious proportion. But all in all, you know, it's considering at one time this town had negative free cash because they were over expending, it's a good situation to be in. And but like you said, and I appreciate Madam Chairperson speaking about it, because folks will say, all right, if you have this, just put in the budget, hire more people, and that's not the way it is year in, year out, so.
Yes,
Just a simple comment. Most towns, when they have money, if they put it into operational expenses, any department, it's a recipe for disaster, because you have no way of knowing what the following year is gonna be. And if you increase your operational expenses with no revenue back up and forward, you're gonna see deficit spending the next year.
and I think that's something that maybe the average taxpayer doesn't quite understand.
No.
If they're looking at these numbers, I think that that's not necessarily gonna be the perspective that they bring.
Well, those being passed, I had the pleasure of going to the Council on Aging today for a thing. Boy, that is one busy place. She doing an unbelievable job there. I mean, there's just so many folks there, just having, bingo was going on and this was going on, and it was really good to see, because when I moved here, there was no Council on Aging per se, there was a part-time director and whatever, and where they are today is remarkable.
Well, thank you for that. Sharon's done a great job.
Oh, absolutely.
So she's probably gone faster and than harder than than we told her to. We said take it slow, and suddenly the floodgates open. So she's saying, hey, don't burn yourself out, because she's a whirlwind. She's doing a great job.
There were a lot of happy people down there today.
That's really
important,
good.
yeah.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And the same thing, driving through Onset, if you saw the work the maintenance people are doing on the park there, you wouldn't recognize it now, they're just doing a tremendous job down there.
It was, so I'm really proud of our department heads and what they're doing, the amount of work. It's, and today was sort of, I was talking about it, it almost felt like a missed opportunity, because watching what Mr. Menard can do, what you've seen the work on the playgrounds, Heinz Field, what the staff doing over there at Bayview Park, what they did for the band shell. And you thought, if we had proper staffing in that department, and we did from what a difference it would be.
Yeah, he has some talented people working for him.
Yeah, there's talented people, he's great. Common sense is amazing. It's really good. So, going from the appropriations, this is one of the ones I was looking at for the real estate. We don't budget personal property separately, so it's really it's the bottom line number on there, because I was laughing when I saw that saying real estate 101%. It's like, no, that's impossible. So, I think that's just, they were trying to break it down on their own for VADAR, for the personal property taxes. But going down, so real estate is what it is. Our collections probably hover around 96% or so. That's one of the things that's made us nervous about the change in what they're referring to as equity theft. The municipalities are allowed to budget 100% of your collections, even though your real estate tax collection will not be 100%. It'll never be 100% in a given year, but you make that up through tax title, through and through the foreclosures. What's on the revenue? That foreclosure opportunity is essentially gone for getting it out of there, which I think is going to be a bigger impact to municipalities than people think.
I didn't think of that, yeah.
I'm hoping it's not going to impact the tax title process. Not going to impact the tax rate setting process. I don't think they ever asked the Department of Revenue or Division of Local Services what impact it'll have for finances, but it's where we stand, so that's just one thing to be concerned about, but boat excise tax, again, we try to never budget more than 90% of any prior year collections. So you'll look at this year, when we're gonna be setting the FY 26 budget, it's gonna be based off of the FY 24 actual, so you're usually 2 years in arrears when you're looking at it. But so this will really be our pro forma for looking at the FY 26 budget. Boat excise, it's coming in around 50,000 year in, year out, and you might, depending on when bills go out, you'll have about a $5,000 difference from one year to the next. Hotel motel, really big change this year. And you'll see when we do the budget, we have the short-term rental tax. They're still not breaking that out for us, so the short-term rental tax is within that hotel motel, and that's been the change. So that's one of the areas you identify. I think in the FY 26 budget, you'll see a slight increase as long as the trends continue in this way. Meals tax, that's positive, you know, the people are spending money throughout our community. It was obviously higher than the FY 23 for the same period. You know, so it's doing pretty well. Motor vehicle excise, and again, there's billings, those usually go out in February. So when we're tracking during the year, usually you'll have somewhere around January, February, you're having a mild panic attack because you know this huge portion of our local receipts is really missing, but it's still trending positively, and you know. So the next one's cannabis. It is down drastically and it will continue to go down. We had the number 4 retail one that opened up in the Commonwealth. And, you know, that's why there was a big push to budget all that money right away. We've held it pretty steady, just because you don't know where it's going. And then we also lost out on the fees as the Cannabis Control Commission essentially deleted the impact fees for communities. So one thing is we did, being with the number 4 retailer, you've seen some other communities having to settle for host fees that had been charged in the past. Town council and Mr. Buckland would work together and put together an indemnity clause in our most recent hosting agreement, which mutually indemnified both us and the retailer, which, you know, helped reduce that liability. So that was really, I don't know how to put it, but terrible about that, what they passed was we had contracts, we had agreements, and then the Commonwealth said, you can't do that anymore, and then retroactively enacted it, creating this liability. And they also did that somewhat with the real estate sales from the tax title, the tax sales of foreclosed properties. So, you know, if you're changing the law, making certain aspects retroactive, it's a nightmare.
Usually not allowed. But
Yeah.
They did.
I'm not a Massachusetts lawyer, so.
Yeah. So you'll see that FY 24 is the last year you'll see cannabis impact fees. If you go down to number 4, penalties and interests are just, again, that's sort of the same thing we were talking about. If somebody's paying late, or you know, you have the demand fees and such. So and you want to, because we've got new members and such. Maybe at one of the next upcoming meetings, or after we get out of the town meeting sort of cycle, we can get the breakdown of what goes into each one of these buckets. So it might be helpful to take a look at it. But fees, you know, right within the we also obviously a little bit greater than we saw for FY 23. You know. And let's try to figure out what's the ebb and flow on there. So if you look, FY 23 collections were lower than what we budgeted for FY 24. How that happened was the FY 22 were substantially higher, and that trade-off was a little concerning. So, but they seem to be trending back in the right way. Rentals are we've got a cell tower in here that T-Mobile rents. We're gonna have to put that out for bid again. That's coming up on its anniversary. So we'll probably for the spring town meeting have to do a town meeting article to authorize to go in excess of 10 years of a contract. And there's also the the Oak Grove School. You get some rental out of that, and where Wareham Media is housed at the old town hall as well. So, not the, it's not going to make or break us, but there's some revenue coming in that way. License and permits, we're keeping that low. We've had a couple big projects, including the 40B projects, which do pay the permit fees. So I'm we'll be increasing that for the FY26 estimate, but not to 90% of the 1.75, because some of these big things can bring in $200,000 to $300,000 in fees. And again, when I first came on board, I remember I had somebody emailing me that was, I'll put it gently, was displeased that we were not budgeting 100% of the prior year revenues. Why you don't do that is if something happens mid-year, you have to make cuts. You're essentially making double cuts to make that work. So it's a good idea to have the buffer. And if you do get more revenue in, that's how we use to pay for our capital, which Alan does not like my as you go capital financing.
He's gonna come up with another plan.
Yes. Fines and forfeitures, so we'll have to make an adjustment on that, so that's one of the, but again, because we're conservative in the others, a dip in one of these does not negatively impact us overall. Investment income was the one that went haywire, and today they cut the rate by 50 bips, yeah. So, they'll go back down. I think for FY25, we budgeted 800,000. We should still be safe in there. So you'll see around, probably looking at FY26, keep it maybe around the $800,000 range. But it looks like there will be some rate cutting going on in the future. And I think everybody was pretty much sold on 25 basis points today. So 50 was fairly aggressive, which I think the market liked. Miscellaneous recurring revenue truly is some of the miscellaneous that's sometimes those are checks that maybe are returned or some other things in there. So this is I'll get a good breakdown of there. You'll see the miscellaneous non-recurring. That is just truly one-time things that come in, so you don't budget that whatsoever. But they need to be put in a revenue bucket, and you should track what you're getting in for it. Medicaid, that's for, that actually is for the school department, for the students in there that are receiving that. That was up a little bit higher than before. There's a separate company that's hired that's paid for by the schools to actually track that and do it all. Again, tax title and foreclosures, that's probably, you'll start seeing that money go way down because there will be no equity going on into the future. And then the state cherry sheet revenue was lower than what we had originally budgeted from what came in. And again, that is just, it changes some of the administration, because with the Patrick administration, I remember you could, if you use the governor's number under the Patrick administration, you were pretty good. That's what it ended up around the Baker administration. The legislatures usually put a little bit more in, and that passed. And now I can't tell you what's going on. So we just try and keep that when we're going to do our estimates for 2026. I don't see us going beyond 2% increase for 2 or 3 at the max for Chapter 78 and unrestricted general government aid. So again, we came in nicely all together. Not a bad problem to have. Free cash, you usually want, they say 3 to 5%, they're bringing that up. So you probably want 5% of our budget, so right around 4 million. We'll probably end up in the $5 to $6 million range on there. So we're well, and we turned back, we're probably close, a little over 6, as we'll see, but we try and roll over at least a million plus to seed the next years on there and just to keep a good fund balance. So all in all, fiscally FY '24 was a good year. It's not alarming.
By the way, Brianna, I've got extra copies of this. I know this has probably been harder to follow, not having it in front of you, but I have some for you.
Sorry to bore you without anything.
No, I'm awake over here.
So it's good, and we appreciate, it's a lot of the financial policies we put together was working with the finance committee, and we talked about it. We have our highest bond rating ever for the town, AA+. When we were meeting with S&P on some of the bonding, we asked them, we were feeling a little full of ourselves. We said, all right, so how do you get to AAA? And they said, you're not going to, because there's certain economic factors to a community. And but I'm proud of how we've jumped up and
We
the
have
teams have worked.
maximized our potential.
Yeah, so, but
In that
it's
regard.
we still stay, we'll go through some of the transfers again. Even though our stabilization fund's higher than 5%, we'll still put 150,000 into it. Keep it in the, just have those funds available. We've used it to borrow against before, which has been great. And it's also, again, having the good bond rating, but there's going to be, this community, when it had nothing in the bank, missed out on a lot of opportunities that they could have really seized. So I've also, there's something I wanted to bring up too. A large part of what we're doing between our healthcare with the Mayflower Municipal Health Group, that's a healthcare consortium we're a part of, and then Plymouth County Retirement. The Plymouth County Treasurer, Tom O'Brien, is really sort of leads a lot of this. It does an excellent job. But what I want to see is if we could maybe, if you wouldn't mind giving me a few dates for meetings in the future that I could pass on to him, if you would be kind enough to invite him to go over and explain everything that's going on, including the Plymouth County other post-employment benefit trusts that we're a part of. And I think it'd be good. They did, Plymouth County Retirement voted to move their date out 2 years to, I believe, 2031 from 2029. Some factors, while the markets have been good, the salaries have picked up so much around the entire Plymouth County area that rather than saddle the communities with really large increases, they've tried to push it out 2 years, which is still, I think they're several years ahead of the Commonwealth on it, so it's still trending well, but that was the year when when we're doing our 5-year planning, we're trying to see, because we'll go from a $7 million cost to a 2.5 to $3 million cost, which means at that point you have something within your levy base to really do. Is it a new police station? Is it fully funding some of the departments that we feel are really the most important? So that's kind of a trigger point looking forward.
Good. So that's a lot of information. Yes, Alan?
Just background information. Wareham, way back before Derek, took money out of the healthcare trust fund, about 1.5 million. And the employees were supposed to have 25%, and the town 75%. Unfortunately, that ratio is virtually reversed. And when Derek came in, he had a serious issue. How we figure this out? I did speak to him about the Mayflower Group, which was Plymouth County. And I think we saved, $600,000 the first year or something. We went in. We were lucky to get in because you have to kind of buy in. And when the OPEB basically came up, which is another thing, which is unfunded liability, I think we were number 1 and number 2 joining that fund.
We're the first ones to get in.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the third one's to put money in there. But it's more important that they get in there as first in the line. So
the bottom line is we really need to thank Tom O'Brien. I was chair of the Plymouth County Advisory Board for quite a while, and I used to challenge him constantly in a fun way. What can you get for us next? And the man has stepped up tremendously.
they're also doing some of the procurement now for police vehicles, so we can buy through them as a consortium. It's been very helpful.
All right, does anybody have any questions at the moment on any of this? We'll obviously be talking about these numbers later, as we get gear up for budget in the spring. But I did think it was important to at least get the recap after fiscal 24 was more or less done.
Yeah, this will be for the local receipts, that's going to be our foundation for 26.
So you're gonna see these numbers again.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Too soon.
All right, thank you, Derek. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so next thing on the agenda, next item is Fall Town Meeting warrant articles. We have you should have received by email today what I also got this afternoon, which is an electronic copy. It's a lighter than, maybe lighter than usual Fall Town Meeting, or lighter than the last couple of them. So, and a number of them are just very routine. We will hear from Derek again, I guess, about those things a little farther down the line, but you have any comment at all?
Yeah, there's a couple of them that, there's one donation of land that we're working on, if not completely struck the deal, but it was brought up to us, so we felt if our next opportunity wasn't for months away, let's seize that. The accessory dwelling unit one, that's something that was just passed in August 8th. We have no guidance from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. It was a lot easier when they were DHCD or to say, but that one's good. That's with the accessory dwelling units, can be a good thing for the community, but we don't want it to suddenly become a developer's dream, and so we wanna make sure it does what it's supposed to. What we have in there, we're having some discussions because this is with no guidance from the Commonwealth on it, even though you have some language in there, and they're still trying to give us the guidance, which we may not get for several months. We may end up, we might pass over this and might be required to have a special town meeting in January on it. It's too important to try and put something in there that could be, once you get the guidance, it's the opposite of what we've done at a local level, so.
And
This
just,
goes into effect February, somewhere around it, doesn't it?
That's why.
February?
Yeah, it's February, that's why we put something on here for this one, because obviously we don't have another one to April, and we're hoping to get some sort of guidance. I have not heard back from the executive office, we'll just call them that, so it's a little bit difficult. There's a seasonal communities aspect, which clearly we are. If you're in the Cape or the islands, you're automatically in there. We're obviously greater than 30% of a seasonal population, so there's some impact for that. We've asked, well, how do you do that? Is it a vote of town meeting? Is it a vote of the select board? What is it a vote of? They don't know. So it's.
I was gonna add, what are the I Googled that, cause I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
So I Googled it and I said, well, what's the benefit to Wareham? What's the benefit to Wareham? Now I'm asking you, cause I really tried to read it.
AI didn't tell you?
Yeah, it is interesting, but you're trying not to do, you don't wanna be able to have it that it's just where people are doing short-term rentals in there left and right. It's supposed to help with housing. It can benefit some communities. I don't think it's going to benefit the Boston hub area as much, which is where they've talked about needing it, but
Does it reduce the requirement for percentage of affordable units?
no, it doesn't, and that's what we wanna try and get them counted for. So if this is what I can't figure out. I understand the concept is to get more housing, we have a housing crunch. However, you also wanna be able to have housing units that come in that aren't mega complexes and they're more appropriate for your community. So if these are, in their essence, are supposed to help with affordable housing, are not giving you any credit towards the SHI list, subsidized housing index, I wasn't trying to be crude there. If they're not giving you any credit towards that, they're actually pushing you further away, which that's what they're supposed to be doing, so that's a little frustrating. So, you know, and we have something on the books, this is going to delete it and then put something else in. I just think really we're trying to put something together when you're trying to put together a meal when you don't have the recipe down for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I say, I read it, and I couldn't really figure out what was gonna be the real benefit for the town of Wareham.
Yeah, so.
You know, that's why I said, I'm glad you brought it up, and say, cause I couldn't figure it out, you know, and that's,
Well, what we don't wanna have is that suddenly there's corporations buying up single family homes and putting an accessory dwelling unit in there for Airbnb rentals and
Right.
such. That's not what we want for our community.
That doesn't solve the problem at all.
Right, so and we could be really attractive for that, obviously, so.
Well, just to give everyone a little update on what I'm thinking about scheduling, as you know, we have everybody come before us to talk about their warrant articles, and about half of these are Derek, maybe more than half are Derek. And so I think you're gonna come back probably the 16th, October 16th,
Yeah.
which is sort of the last date before we have to finalize the report. But it's gonna be, I think, the more routine matters, except capital planning maybe.
Yeah, and just for, and I'm sorry to interrupt, just for an update, we are ahead of where we were last year for having the books closed and good for free cash submissions. That will always be down to the wire, so
Right.
doing it on the 16th is really appropriate.
Safest, yeah.
Yeah.
We do have, next week, I've already arranged for Jackie Nichols to speak with us about the two articles coming from the assessor's office. These have to do with tax abatement for veterans and the elderly. She'll be participating by Zoom for that. And Judy Whiteside will talk to us about Chapter 90, the Chapter 90 proposal, which has to do with posting a standard speed limit for the town. I have also invited the planning people to talk about the ADU issue. And I think there's a second article that they have as well. Let's see. That is the one right before. Yeah. So the last two articles are, this seasonal community designation was also planning department. So I haven't heard back, but we may hear from them next week. At Jody's request, we're not going to do CPC next week. I'm going to try to get as many of them as possible in the first meeting in October. I haven't reached out to any of them yet, but I will be working on that tomorrow. And there are 4 of those altogether. If we can get them all in one meeting, I will, but otherwise we may split them between 2. So I think this is actually a pretty manageable amount of work for us, and if all goes well, we might even be able to skip one meeting.
I mean, half of this looks like it could go on a consent agenda.
Well, it probably will, but we still have to consider it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
the PEG access one,
Right.
they're supposed to be changing that. So they made the guidelines where you had to move it into the receipts reserved for appropriation account or the enterprise fund. We did the receipts reserved for appropriation account because we have our agreement with Wareham Media. We're hoping they're going to do it back again so it can be a holding account, because that money should just flow in and flow out, not require additional appropriation. So.
Can I ask one more question while we're talking about a golf course report for the end of the year? We're gonna see one?
Oh, yeah, I can probably, I think it's about 21,500 or so after some of the things that we netted out to, because we did have to pick up a couple things, so, but not too shabby.
Yeah, I know I went by there one Sunday in August and the place was jammed. And the golf course looked good too.
They're
I will
doing
say
a
the greens are the
real
biggie.
nice job on the
The greens
course.
look great.
Yeah, They really are. I'm hearing a lot of compliments about it, and that's what they're, and with your background, the golf course, as we said, was never supposed to be a thing that solves the town's budget. It's supposed to be an amenity for the community
Yep.
and try and be as self-sustaining as possible.
What's going on with the restaurant?
That's what they did. Sterling Golf sort of does that. That's part of their food stuff. So I've been told, oh, you're putting somebody in there. We don't do the food. The town's not the food.
Right, I thought that went in
Mama.
Wareham Center.
So yeah, that she's been serving some stuff there, but as an employee of Sterling Golf. So and they're contracted to do the food services. So however they handle it, they'll be there. I think we'd love to see something more down there. I think it could be a nice neighborhood amenity too, more year round.
So is it a fully functioning kitchen down there now?
There is not a fully functioning kitchen down there now.
Yeah, good, I think the way you were saying, she's, okay.
She's
You can
limited
get
what
some-
she can do.
Yeah,
She's doing much better than hot dogs on the gas station roller like what was down there before, but it's you know,
She's got some challenges.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
We just did a golf tournament there.
did you? Yeah.
Mary supplied the food.
Yeah.
It was excellent. She's great.
yeah, it's frustrating when I see some of the local organizations going out of town to play at other golf courses when, you know, it,
Community Associates stayed local.
yeah, you go to them looking for things, so, you know, sometimes you gotta, having run a golf course, that was very frustrating when I'd see them go out of town.
They've had good luck this year.
All right, well, let's move on. I think that kind of covers, unless somebody has questions about the warrant itself or the scheduling that I'm talking about. Let's move on to discussion of registration for Chapter 70 webinar on October 9th. And Derek, how many spots do you have available?
I think if I remember when we registered for one, it gave us three. Did it give us three more spots? I gotta reach out to Mark on
Yeah,
that.
it's actually, I did this a couple of years ago. It's a lot of information. It's about a half day, I think, and but it gave me, I think, a much better understanding of Chapter 70 and of how school finance works. Some of what you can and can't do, although it obviously can't cover everything. But I would, if you are interested in doing this, let me know, and I will pass your information on to Derek.
It
If there's
also includes some of the Upper Cape Cod tech for the aid that they get for,
Right.
you know. So.
Exactly. It's a good chance to understand. They take you to the website and take you through our numbers, exactly what they are and how they're reported and all that, and how the net school spending is calculated. So if anybody is interested in that, I don't know, Jody, if you've ever done this.
Yeah, I gotta check my calendar.
Yeah, obviously, let me know in the next few days and I will get the information to Derek and we'll see how many spots. See if we have to arm wrestle for it. I guess we could have two people sit in the same room.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if Mark will know, you know.
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
But they'll seem a little bit less of wizardry, how they
Yes.
come up with it, but.
It's still a lot of
Yeah,
wizardry, I gotta
but-
say.
yeah.
I'm sure I will never fully understand it, but it is, it's helpful to get walked through the basic formula and how our numbers work.
Question for you. Is this run by the state, DOR, or is this run by DESI?
Nope, it's run by Mark Abrams.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Registration for the Association of Town Finance Committees annual meeting on November 2nd. I've gone to that the last couple of years. I won't be able to go this year, but if,
I'm definitely interested.
You gonna
Yeah,
go? Okay.
they're doing a breakout for schools there
yeah,
this year.
it's a good meeting. It's in Sharon. It's not that far away. They have a really lovely community center.
It's right on Lake Massaport. Well, you know where Sharon Community Center is. Yeah, it's nice there.
So if you want to go, just go to the link that I gave you and sign up. And the bill should come to us and we'll pay it. It's not very much. I think it's $25 or something. But we do take that out of our budget. I feel like that's something that the committee should be able to cover. And everybody can go if they want, but I will not be able to this year.
Is Denise Baker still the liaison for the
I'm not sure.
Town Finance Committees?
No. Any questions on that? Okay, all right, and then the last item is recent request for Finance Committee records. Just wanted, this is just FYI. You saw the email that I got. It was all handled according to procedure, which is I turned it all over to the town clerk. She worked with town council and Matt in IT and provided everything that was asked for. And just so you're aware that these kinds of requests do come in from time to time. And it's important to be professional in our conversations in writing and personally, and everyone is, and I have felt there was nothing certainly to hide or to be worried about, but it is good to keep in mind that from time to time, someone from the public wants to see what our communications are. So I don't ever put anything in writing that I wouldn't be okay with having on the front page of the Wareham Week with my name on it. Any questions? Okay. I do not know of any business not reasonably anticipated 48 hours prior to this meeting.
Motion to
Nora, can
adjourn.
I bring up
one moment.
thing? Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes?
I should not have voted for approval on the August
No,
14th
it's okay.
minutes. Okay.
You don't, even if you were not at a meeting, you can vote to approve minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been a question from time to time, but under Robert's rules, it's
Yeah,
perfectly
yeah.
fine.
Oh, okay.
You're not voting on the content, you're
Yes,
just voting on
you're
the.
just
Accepting
voting to
them.
approve. So our next meeting is scheduled for, as we said, next week, same time, same bat station. So not tentative anymore. It will be a hybrid meeting as usual. And that's all I have, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn, motion made,
Second.
All right, not debatable, all in favor?
let
Brianna,
it be quick.
are you voting to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay. Andrea?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
yes, and I vote yes, 7-0. All right, meeting is adjourned, it's about 8:47 PM.
7:47.
Oh, excuse me, 7:47, thank you, 7:47 PM. Thank you very much, if there's any cannoli left, please take it.
That's why I was in football